Hello, hello to all of you loved ones, and welcome to today's Sip and Chat. I appreciate all of you loved ones. How are you doing? Welcome. And, this is a Sip and Chat. So, what are you sippers sipping on today? I'm going to get into that, but I have to welcome my co host, Miss Nexie.
Hello, Miss Marlene. How are you today?
I'm doing amazing.
As usual, as
As,
always.
as always. So, Miss Nexie, what are you sipping on? Mm-hmm.
Hey, okay. Let me see. Where is it at? I just had it. I I just I left it outside. Well, I was having this coconut water that I think it's Coco Vita or something like that. It's really
Ooh,
good. It's really good, but it's kind of like sweet and stuff. But it was good. It was good. That's what I'm having. And water because it's getting hotter here, and now whew, we need a lot of hydration.
yes, we do. You
What
have to.
are you sipping on, Miss Marlene?
Today, I am out of character. You will never guess what I'm having, ever.
A cola,
No,
a pop of any kind. Juice, juice.
no, I'm actually having a Frappuccino.
No words on this side. Keeping it to
No more. See,
myself.
I
That's
told
it.
you. I told you.
Oh
I
no,
told
that's not what
you.
I mean. I'm on the hook, but that's okay. Go ahead and enjoy your frappuccino or whatever it is that you're enjoying. You have fun with it.
Don't be jealous. Okay.
You
Miss
owe me.
Next.
Remember, you owe me a
Yeah,
thousand of
I
them.
know. I owe Miss everybody here. I owe Miss Next the ice cream for at least 2 weeks.
That's wonderful. And why are you having Miss
Because my niece
Marlene? Isn't it
went
a little too late for you to be having that?
very, but my niece had it and it looks really good. And anything that has whipped cream on it, I'm gonna have it. So yeah, that's I'm having. Yeah, yeah.
You're gonna pay the ultimate
I'm
price of
charged
being
up.
in
I'm gonna be like,
Switzerland.
yeah. I'm gonna pay the ultimate price.
Yes, ma'am.
It's
Yes,
costly.
ma'am.
So don't be surprised if I
But it was
call
worth
you
it.
3 a.m.
But it was worth it because it had whipped cream.
Yeah, it's worth it because it has whipped cream. Shay says she's sipping on some ice cold water. That's what I should be doing, but
Oh, hi, Shay. That's
yeah.
what I've been doing. I've been good. No coffee, no nothing. Just simple water.
Mm,
Delicious water.
well, everybody cannot be good like Miss Shay and Miss Nexie.
But
So Miss
perfection is
Nex,
hard, Marlene. Perfection is hard.
and I don't have it. I don't claim to. Okay, Miss Nexie. Today we're talking about this serious topic here: falling in love with
Mm-hmm.
the wedding and not the marriage or the person. I came up with this title because of so much things that we see. We see entertainers, we see people on social media, people we know of, and you see them getting married, right? You see them, oh, and they're showing their ring and they're showing the suits and all the parties, all of those things. But sometimes I even want to ask, do they even like the person that they're marrying?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It's you know, and it's something that a lot of us marriage is not easy, right? It's not easy to begin with. And to begin a marriage in depth because you wanted to have the latest dress, the latest, ring with that huge diamond or whatever your choice is. I'm not criticizing. That's what you like. That's fine. It's my opinion, right? And you're so, want this, the best flowers there is. You want this, beautiful, expensive dress, a beautiful venue, um, the best drinks, the best everything. And you start a marriage with that much, debt. It's going to be a very difficult road for you and your new husband, or for you and your new wife, if you're a man or whatever, or
Yeah,
you and your partner, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. The thing is that you have to think about this. If and when we see so many examples, because that's the thing, we see so many people going there, but we cannot say anything because if we do, we're haters,
right.
right? If you bring it up and you say, don't you think like simple flowers may do for that? I mean, I've dreamed of this wedding my entire life.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
and
did
that
you dream of the groom?
no, and I think from, don't get me wrong, I'm all for people's happiness and joy. This is not a thing to, say people shouldn't get married or anything like that. But I'm saying that a lot of people are very unbalanced when it comes to talking about getting married. Like all they focus on is all of the material things, the glitz, the glamour, the flowers, the dress, the parties. Oh, let me put up the next thing. um let's see, here it is. They're focused on the ring and the parties and the engagement, posting it on their social media, and they're not putting any emphasis on, but who am I marrying?
Yeah.
Like, who
Or
is this person?
why am I marrying him? Why am I getting married? Right?
Exactly. That's one of the biggest questions. Why are you getting married? And what can this person add to your life? And also, the topic is not about this, but it is about it. Many people are getting married because they see other people getting married, or they want the dream, or they want certain things, but they personally are not in the space. They don't even know who they are and what they want. So it's like, okay, you're getting married, but like, what are your goals? Like, you have to be in a position, honestly, that you've accomplished some things that you want to, that you love yourself, you know what you want moving forward. And I see a lot of people
You,
getting married and they don't know who they are or even love themselves.
or why? Again, I bring that up because this is the saddest thing I've heard in a wedding. And again, I'm not going to say any names, you know what I mean? Because I'm not going to. But I went to a wedding, and I was invited to this wedding, and it was a beautiful wedding. It was. The dress was beautiful. She looked stunning, so beautifully done. The party was super, super huge, and it looked like they spent a lot of money on the wedding. But the thing that got me, and I told my friend, my best friend, I'm like, did she just say that? So we're talking, we're complimenting her as the ceremony ended, and everybody's, hugging them, whatever. We hugged her, and congratulations, and it's beautiful and everything, and she's like so excited, telling us, where they're going for their honeymoon and everything about the wedding and this and this and that. And then she's saying, to think that I'm the first of the line of females in my family that actually gets married.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, that's wonderful, congratulations. And it makes sense why it went above and beyond of
Mm.
their means, because I know what she works as, and I know what he works as, so I know what they do for a living. And that wedding was so extravagant and beautifully, like I said, it was beautiful. And when she said that, she may have, might have not thought that it meant anything. She probably just said it of excitement, right? That she was the first of her female line in her family to get married. but it made a lot of sense to me. And that's why I asked my friend, did she just say that? She goes, yes, she did. And then I said, oh, I get it now. She goes, oh my God, there you go. I go, no, it's okay. It's okay. I was just wondering. But I understood that the overage of everything, and it was, she was so proud of being the first in her family to legally married and have a husband and a home, and have that title of a legal wife, that she had to celebrate above and beyond
In a big way.
in a big way. Yeah.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, Miss Nexie, but sometimes the people will, they'll do all these things. And don't get me wrong, I love a good party. I think a good party is wonderful because it's a celebration. But there's people who will go and have these big old parties that they cannot afford, and then the bills come.
That's
They
what I'm
put all
saying.
of this in debt. They're
Hmm.
indebted for this lavish wedding that I've heard people who they didn't even get their wedding pictures, they didn't get so many things, and they already have separated.
Hmm.
They're
It's.
paying for a wedding that didn't even last past the honeymoon.
Hmm. And again, it's when all the bills come, and when the honeymoon fades off, because again, it's two people coming together to live as husband and wife with two different minds, two different brains, two different attitudes. That even though they got along when they were dating, as a married couple, is a different thing.
Yep.
Boyfriend
It's
and girlfriend is fun.
uh-huh. No, because the
He
boyfriend
goes
and
home,
girlfriend
I go
aspect.
home.
Yeah, because the boyfriend and girlfriend aspect is a completely different experience. It's different when you start bringing in real life issues, bills, problems, just part of
Uh,
being an adult. When
yes,
those
but
things,
oh, I'm sorry, Marlene. I was gonna say something in between the bills and everything. Also, too, in between that, remember bringing the bills and everything, and now before it was his problem, her problem. Now it's our bills, our money that is gonna go out for those bills. It's not just his money, and it's not just her money, right? It's our money that we're gonna have to pay because you wanted this huge thing.
yeah, and most of the time that they didn't put any of the work into the relationship, like what do we even want, like, and then you find out after you get married to this person, that's not what I want. That's not what I'm willing to do. Like, who is this person? I was like, I'm not gonna do that. And then of course, there's a breakup because they didn't do more time and effort into getting to know a person, and finding out what that person wants and what are they like, and like being honest with themselves. Is this something that I can handle and deal with, or is this something that I'm gonna ignore all of the red flags because I want to get married.
Yeah, exactly. The illusion of the wedding and the party and everybody seeing that that person that you got married. I think that illusion is the one that clouds your thinking, your
Your
reality,
judgment.
your reality for sometimes, because you're all into the just the honeymoon and the party and the dress and this and that. You're not seeing the big picture. You're not seeing that as soon as you come back from the honeymoon, you're gonna have to pay all that money back,
Mhm.
right? Nobody else is paying it for you. This is between you and him now. It's not out of his pocket only. It's out of both of your pockets. So, and who knows how long you're gonna be paying for this?
Yeah, and a lot of times the problem can be that some are go into this marriage, you know, basically like brats. The wife or the husband and the parents paid for everything, lavish everything, the best parties, the best this, the best of everything. And then when the reality hits, now mommy and daddy's not paying for it. You have to now pay for it. And they're like, wait a minute, like how much is this light bill? How much is the mortgage? What? The car payment? Yeah, they haven't had like really important conversations about the reality of what marriage really means. It's not just all the glitz and the glamour. It's somebody that you can choose to live your life with, and you can go through all situations together. And they don't think about that. It's like one person goes in with one expectation, one goes in with another, and if you don't have some sort of a fork in the road where you come together and to say, this is where we come together and this is where we meet and agree to things, it's just not going to work.
Mm-hmm. And again, it's, the thing is, and a lot of people say this, just wait until the honeymoon is over. And we don't mean the honeymoon trip.
Hmm.
We mean the honeymoon phase, right? When you're so in love and oh my God, you're still in that phase. Once that is over and you start seeing that, hey, now this boyfriend you had is your husband. Okay, so now you're living in the same household. That you're gonna start seeing a lot of things that you don't like, and he's gonna start seeing a lot of things that he doesn't like. And then expenses, and then attitudes, and then
and then
you spend too
and then
much time
maybe
doing this
children
thing.
and then maybe
Yeah,
children are added to the equation.
yeah. Again, we're not saying that it's not beautiful to get married. It is. It's a beautiful thing. It's a very nice thing to do that, to get married. To have a husband, a wife, to have little ones. We just want to say that we have to make sure that the person that you know we're marrying is more important than everything else that we can think of: dress, party, drinks, food. That we
Exactly.
know who we're getting married to.
Yeah.
My son got married. It's gonna be 2 years in October. But this is the thing that I admired, because they are a young couple. They're very young. And I don't mean young and young. They got married when they were almost in their 30s. But what I'm trying to say is that they dated for a while, like 4 years, 5 years, something like that, because he was in the army. But when he came to propose and everything, they started planning the wedding, but they didn't have it until like a year and a half or so later, because they wanted to pay everything first. Meaning, the venue, the food, the drinks, they wanted to get that out of the way. They didn't want it, they didn't want to, get, charge their credit cards or do anything like that. So, as they were working, they were paying the photographer, the videographer, like I said, the venue, the drinks, the food, her dress. And the thing is, you know for a young couple like that, I was like, that is actually very smart. She did a lot of her the flower arrangements and the centerpieces. She was making them herself. Every night she came back from work, she will go look around different places to buy this vases or vase, whatever they're called, and she will paint them by hand and make them very beautiful. And those were the centerpieces. Those were the pieces around the venue. She did a lot on her own, and she was looking for the flowers in different places so that she could get what she wanted but not overpay. And I
Exactly.
thought that was very nice, very, because they are both in the same page.
Yeah. See, that's when it's the planning. It's and that's what a lot of people do not do. They don't plan ahead. They're only thinking about getting married and the party and the gifts and the money they're gonna get. And they think it's gonna be like this fairy tale, and like in the storybooks happily ever after. and it's
Mm-mm.
just not that way in the real life.
Yeah, yeah, that's, we're not saying that if you have the money and you want to do that, go ahead and do it. You can do that, but don't put everything else before you and your, and the person you're marrying. We have to get to know each other before, we take that leap of faith, right?
Right.
Because we have to that who we're going to be for the rest of our life with is someone that we like, that we get along with, someone that we can see ourselves growing old with.
Mhm. And what I think it is that a lot of people have an expectation versus the reality. They have this notion in their head that it's going to be like this, and we're going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be perfect. Where when the reality hits that it's not what they thought it was going to be, then now everything is different. And a lot of people don't have those real conversations with the persons that they're married. Like, I'm not a morning person. I don't like this. I want that. They don't. So they go into the marriage thinking, oh, but I only seen when I'm getting the gifts and the parties and the rings and going to fancy restaurants and all of those things. That okay, now what about now you're married and you're just at home? Do you know how to cook and clean and certain things, like, and who's going to do that? Those conversations were never had. So then when the reality shows up, like, what, you want me to do what?
Exactly. They were never had, or because a lot of times, Marlene, they go into it again, as boyfriend and girlfriend. We both leave, even if something bothers us that they do, we don't live with them, right? So we don't even know that it's something that is gonna be an issue once we get married.
Mhm.
We're like, oh, okay, oh, he'll change, whatever, I don't care. He goes home, you go home. We don't. Some people don't take the time to sit down and, how can I say it? I beef it out before they get married. Like, this is what bothers me. I don't like this, and I hope that you can change that. Or, what, I am not, like you say, I'm not a morning person, so you are. So try not to make noise, especially on the weekends when we're off. I like to sleep in a little bit longer than you do, so just get up and quietly go, whatever. Some people are not party animals. They don't like to be going, all over the place every weekend, going out and stuff like that. And they say, well, he used to go with me when we were dating. Yeah, but that's because he only saw you that one day of the week. Of course he was going to go with you. But now we're seeing each other every day. And the last thing I want
It's a
is to go to a
completely different
party.
thing. It's a
Yeah,
completely
exactly.
different
and
thing.
and exactly, and that's the thing, is that the he used to, she used to, he used to, that shouldn't be used as you're already in the marriage, because now you guys are gonna have to work as one with two heads and two bodies, but try to work as one the best possible.
Yeah, and you know what? I think it all comes back to communication. That of course, no marriage is going to be perfect. Not one person
Nope.
has a perfect marriage, but you can have great communication, and I think that that's the saving grace for all marriages. If even if somebody gets on your nerves, and like as my mom would say, sometimes you just feel like holding them underwater just long enough to make the bubbles go up their nose, just you feel like that some days. But what saves you from doing that is when you look about the other qualities that they have. They do this, and you say, okay, maybe I won't, because they are this, they are a good father, they are a good this, they're a good provider. So it has to be certain things that you have to see, like they have to have certain qualities, and not just thinking about, oh, they have a fancy car or they have this job. the expectation versus the reality is completely different, and focusing on what type of marriage do you want, like having conversations, who do you see yourself in marriage, what do you expect from marriage.
Exactly. They're in love with love sometimes, right? They're in love with
Mhm.
that word love, but they don't go. And a lot of times it's and I mean not just us girls, it's our fault. No, I mean sometimes it's the other person's fault because he doesn't speak out up, or she doesn't speak up, or the other one is, doesn't listen. She doesn't or he doesn't. So like you said, communication. And sometimes when we're dating, it's not a big deal. Oh, she doesn't listen to me, whatever. It's not a big deal because we're just dating. But if you let those things go without fixing them before you get married, that's going to become a problem in your marriage, not your dating life. Because, like I said, everybody goes their way. You go home and she goes home, and that's it.
Hmm. It's a
But,
completely
if you
different
don't fix
story.
them, it's, yeah. And a lot of times, the one thing I've heard a lot from friends sometimes that, now some of them are divorced. I heard a lot as, oh, once we get married, he'll change. Or once we get married, she'll
Oh.
change, or I know we're going to work it out after we get married. And I would always look at him and say, well, I think you know, I will say sometimes, maybe you should try to work it out now, see, oh, it's okay. Once we get married, we're going to just talk about our likes and dislikes. And I'm like, okay. But I think that once you do that, once you're married, it's different.
Hmm. It's
Or
it's a completely different scenario when somebody is your husband versus boyfriend, because a boyfriend, you can always let go of a boyfriend easily, like, okay, there's no connections. Now it's
yeah,
like marriage is completely different.
yeah, now that's your husband, that's your wife.
Hmm.
And I've seen that they go, how can I don't want to sound like mean or anything like that, but they are so focused on the wedding party and the wedding. They're so that they lose focus on the one that is going to marry you, the one next to you. They don't even sometimes ask if they're okay, if this enough, if that's enough, or do you think it's too much, or do you want maybe a smaller wedding. They don't even take that into consideration sometimes.
Hmm.
Maybe this man or this woman is not someone that likes all that noise. Maybe he or she's just going along because you're the one who wants that. But he or she will be happy with just a small wedding. And sometimes, they don't even stop and think. It's all about what they want. Like you said, they're more in love with, the wedding than the person they're marrying sometimes, or the idea of the wedding rather than the idea of a marriage.
Or trying to make their I've heard a lot of people like who get connected with somebody because their mom or their sister or their friend hooked them up, and all they've ever been seeing is the highlight reel where everything's been
Mm.
great. My mom always used to say that, before you marry somebody, you need to go through some major things together and see how they deal with um whatever hard times,
Mm-hmm.
like how are their coping skills. And a lot of people, they only see,
Yes.
oh, I've never seen a
How
man.
they're in
That's
a
a
crisis.
problem. That's a problem. If you don't know how somebody is going to
Yeah.
react in a crisis, no, uh-uh, no.
Run.
Yeah.
No, again, oh, if they go through something and there's no reaction, or you have never seen their reactions, or the actions they take after that reaction, that is the scary part, because you don't really know this person. Because in distress, or in an emergency or something, that's when you know who that person you're marrying is,
Hmm.
right?
I always say, like, one thing that I, even though, my parents did not have a perfect marriage or anything like that, but one thing that I used to love that my mom and dad would do is they would talk about certain things like, tomorrow I'm going to be working. So when I come home, this is what the food and, the laundry will be done and so on and so forth. Or, just talking about certain things, and this is going on, and this such and such has a ballerina practice or whatever it is, talking each other through certain trials. So we have to be aware of all of those things and allowing ourselves to communicate. And I know that it's not the easiest thing. I can't speak for all women, but usually it's hard for a woman to come out and to say the things that they want. Kind of expect your spouse to know exactly what you want and exactly what you need, but you have to speak up and communicate, this is what I want, this is what I need. And when it's not happening, don't get upset and angry because it's not happening. Maybe there's something going on with them why they are not able to, and this is what will help your marriage to gain strength. um, Troubleshooting through all of the problems and the difficulties, and finding a way to make it work for you. And a lot of people don't know and understand that, when troubles come, how are you going to get through it together? And that's the biggest difference, getting through it together.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, and again, it's like I said before. I have had so many couples with you when when we were younger and we got married. They got married pretty much at the same time, and we were the ones that lasted the longest. But I felt like when my my other friends were getting married, they were in love with the idea of the
Mm,
marriage, with the idea of the wedding party and the wedding, and they were gonna be the dress was gonna be perfect, and I I picked it, a long time ago, and I know what kind of flowers I want. And, they were so in love with that idea that when reality hit is when it's like, okay, we're home now, we're a couple, routines come in, right? We go to work, we come home, we clean the house, eat, we go to bed, we get up in the morning, we do the same thing. And on the weekends, there's other things you got to do for the house, right? You got to do
mhm,
laundry, you got to do this, you got to do that. So when everything, when the reality sets in, because they were so in love with the wedding and not the person, I guess, they were marrying, they didn't last. I
mhm,
didn't have a big wedding. I had a court wedding. I wore a very nice, beautiful dress, got married there, and that was it.
mhm. I know somebody who,
And it was fun. It was beautiful. And then we went. Uh huh.
and I think that that's beautiful. I'm glad you said that. So much people, they focus on having this big lavish wedding, and then the marriage doesn't last. Oh, I see Flirt just came in. Hey, Flirt. And that's
Hi,
one of the
Fleur.
things and that's one of the things that one of my friends did different when she got married. you a lot of people will think it's strange. She got married in her parents' backyard by the pool, and everybody brought some food, and it was just a very simple. I think it was probably 10 of us. So it doesn't have to be this big where you're inviting 60 100 to 100 people. It could just be your top three friends on both sides, or and maybe one of your friends on each side, and that's it.
Exactly. Exactly. And, again, it's all, I get it. A lot of people, they have this expectations, they have this these dreams, right? When they're little, they're gonna get married and they're gonna wear this dress or this, they're gonna have this type of venue or this type of food. They have all that, but I feel that a lot of times they could have everything. They could have it all, no problem. But make sure that you're doing it for the right reason.
Yep.
You know what I
Yep.
mean?
That and
Not to show it off. That you're doing it in the right way. You're paying ahead. Like I see my kids marriage and they are so alike. They're home buddies. They don't like to be out and about. They're both very mellow. She's a little more hyper than he is, but she likes to be at home. She likes to watch movies. They like to watch TV. They sometimes go out to eat. Sometimes they go out to visit, the rest of the family, but they're both pretty much in sync with each other on their attitude. And
that's the
I
thing.
think that overall, uh-huh, go ahead, Marley.
And I was gonna say, and that's the thing. A lot of people are not in sync, and then they get married, and thinking that once they get married, they will get in sync.
Exactly. And the one thing, again, it's you and I didn't have, like I said, a big wedding, so I don't even know how much something like that will cost. I don't even want to think about how much something like that will cost.
Hmm.
But
And
but I have had, like, my cousin, he got married, and he's a lawyer, so he graduated, law school and everything, and he took the bars and passed it, and he got married to his college sweetheart, and they had this huge wedding. I mean, huge, and a beautiful party. 2 years later, one baby, and they're divorced,
mm,
and that was it.
yeah,
So I'm
and
thinking, it was a big wedding. It was pretty. It was very beautiful. It was nice. The dress was amazing. The groom looked really, really nice. But I could see that they weren't compatible to each other. They weren't. I didn't see that spark. And I know my cousin. You know what I mean? But I
mm-hmm,
couldn't say that to him like that because I didn't want to put that in his head, right? Like, if he didn't know it, then why am I going to say it and then put it in his head?
exactly.
But eventually that was it. It didn't. It was all about the wedding. It wasn't. It wasn't about the marriage. It wasn't about the partnership.
Yep, it's not about who they're marrying. And I see a comment from Flurk. He says he got married at a local park in a gazebo. So it's not
Oh, that's
about.
beautiful.
Yeah, that's what I said too. I said that's beautiful. A lot of people, they focus on where they're getting married at these expensive venues that cost thousands of dollars. Where people that I know have had the longest marriages have had the cheapest marriages, like people who have got married at the courthouse, at a park, at a beach, like just something very simple. And
Yeah.
yeah, and not had all this big fanfare. And then and mainly we're focused on the life that they were going to live after, and not just focusing on all of the things, the dress and the cars and the shoes and parties, but who am I marrying?
Exactly. And that's the thing that I tell a lot of people, because I've seen coworkers, right, that are dating, and they get engaged, and oh my God, we're gonna have the perfect marriage, right? We're not gonna be like our parents. We're not gonna be like my sisters or and their husbands. We're gonna be so different. We're gonna respect each other. We're gonna talk. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. And I'm looking and thinking, what kind of classes are you guys taking together to beat those odds and not be or end up like what you say your mom and dad is, or your sisters and their husbands, what kind of, therapy are you two going together before your marriage to ensure that you're not going to end up like that? And when I
Mhm.
ask the question, they look at me like, what do you mean? I know we already talking about that. Yeah, that's okay and everything, but you need some form of couple therapy. So you can be, because remember, you come from that dysfunction that you say your parents are, and that dysfunction that you say your sisters are and their husbands. And he comes from that dysfunction that he says his parents are, and his whatever other dysfunctions he has. So, in order to ensure that you're not going to end up for what you've been surrounded with your entire life, you need to go to counseling. You need to go to couples counseling. And that was the one thing my kiddo, him and his fiance at that point talked about. Shall we go to counseling? Shall we do that, and see what happens? And again, these are the things that a lot of people don't think. You think that you're going to beat the odds just by saying we talk about it now. You're dating. He's going to agree with everything you say right now, and you're going to agree with everything he says because you're dating, you're not living together.
Yeah.
And
Then
I
when
feel like
you
just
when
grabbing them and say, what's wrong with you?
yeah, you ever seen them? They're like in this mirage, like they completely they're in this daze where they're just they're so in love that they don't the reality has not hit them yet, and then later on you start seeing them like then now it's like oh yeah now they're living in the real world.
My sister, as we were going through COVID, um, in in the hospital I was working at, we had a recently married, like a newlywed, one of the nurses. She had just graduated. Knew like she got married the month before, I think December of 2019, and we got hit with the pandemic in March, right? So we're
Hmm.
getting like busy in all these cases, and oh, she's coming with the wedding bliss look, like, oh my god, my honey and I, right, my baby and I, my
Oh
honey and
yeah.
my baby and I. So she will make all these comments on how her and her husband, oh my husband, we're gonna have they had this perfect marriage because they had already talked about, and they had promised each other that they were not gonna um, disrespect each other, like sometimes she saw her parents do that to each other. Sometimes they would lose their temper. They would always make sure that if they were about to argue, they will take a deep breath, think before, and then talk it out. Yeah, that's what I was doing too. All of my coworkers, I was just looking at her, trying to keep my cool and trying to keep my composure so that I wouldn't bust out laughing. And then I said, "Oh, okay." He has never raised his voice at me, so I know that he's gonna be, that's when I knew. She said that he was gonna be the person I wanted to marry. I said, "Oh, okay." So my baby and I talked about how respectful we're gonna be to each other. How if we see something we don't like, we're gonna talk about it and see how best way to solve the problem. I said, "Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. So when did you get married?" I will ask her again, right? "Oh, in December." Yeah, there you go. It was December. December. I said, "Oh, okay. That's so you've been married what, 3 4 months?" Yeah. "Oh, okay. Oh, no, no, that has nothing to do. We've dated for like 3 years." So I've dated. Do you guys live together? "Oh, no, no, no. We just dated. I was in my house. He was in his house. So I already know him because we've dated for 3 years."
Oh.
And I'm trying, Marlene, my hardest not to laugh. And my other friend, who's been married for a long time as well, she's probably been married like 20 years. And she's like, "So your honey and you guys are gonna talk about everything?" "Oh yeah, we're not gonna disrespect, raise our voice, disrespect each other." And that's something that we really talked about. So that's exactly how we're moving forward. This is March, Marlene. By September,
Wow.
I would say, "Hey, how's your honey doing?" "Oh, he's doing fine. He's calling me again." And she would answer the phone, "What do you want?" And I was like, "Wait a minute. What happened to the honey?" And
Yeah.
my friend
What
would say,
happened?
"You're
What
so
happened to
mean."
my honey and I?
Yeah. So the honey of my honey, it was no more honey. So I was like, "Oh, okay." And at this point, I'm thinking, she's pregnant, right? That's probably why she's acting this way. So, we didn't put much stock in it because we're like, she's pregnant. We know what she's going through. But as soon as we progressed, and then she had her baby, and then, the pandemic is in full swing, and she has to, he's staying at home, working from home, and she's a nurse, so she had to be at work. Um, and all this commotion. And I'm thinking, you guys are barely going to be a year married, December of 2020, and you're already like this. Imagine going forward. So
Mhm.
let me tell you, my honey and I are no longer married.
No way.
No, they're not. They're in the process of divorcing, and now they have a child that is gonna have to go through back and forth with, the honey and her.
Yeah. And that's what one of the things that like
But again,
you have to live in the real world.
and again,
Yeah.
Marine, when you say things like, give me 1 second, I'm so sorry about that. When you say things like, we have talked about it, and that's all we need. No, it's not. Go to therapy, go to couples counseling so they can teach you guys how to communicate, because you're going into this marriage with this illusion that your marriage is going to be just like when you guys were dating.
Mm.
Everything is going to be
Perfect.
roses,
It's going to be perfect.
perfection.
You're going to have a perfect marriage.
Yeah, there will be no bills that we have to pay. There will not be, surcharge of certain things, because now it's two of us in the same household. He's not going to leave the empty,
The void will be
the
gone,
milk,
right?
the empty carton of milk. Yeah, the empty carton of milk inside the fridge when it's, literally empty. He's not gonna forget to do something. So if you go to therapy before, just couples counseling, it doesn't take that long. I think it's about 6 weeks, and they
Right.
teach you, different ways where you can and you hash out your. Sometimes you don't even think that there's something that he doesn't like about you as you're dating. But when you go to couples therapy, these things come up, and you're like, "Oh my god, I didn't know you didn't like that." Yeah, I don't, because that's exactly what it is for, so that you can get everything out, and you can start your marriage with the right foot instead of the left, and you can start it with the right person,
Yeah, and not
with the
this
true person,
God.
with the real person you're marrying.
Hmm. And not like this fakeness,
Exactly.
because it's like one day you like wake up and like, who am I married to? Like you feel like you married a stranger because people didn't put in any time into who they were marrying, getting to know them in the dating period. I always hear people talk about, oh, I'm going to this restaurant, I'm going to this, and it's just about the getting all of these pleasantries. And it's nothing like, okay, when do you guys sit down and talk about things like how is their life, like what is their past like, and what do they do for work, and what do they like, and what are their goals in the future, and all those important topics. They don't talk
Hmm.
about those things. It's just, oh, we enjoy each other's company, and you're like, okay, what after that?
Yeah, or he makes my coffee every morning. He's been doing that forever. We've been dating, and he's been making my coffee every morning. He's so nice. Every time we're together, he makes my coffee in the morning. And you're thinking, okay, that's nice. But that's not gonna be always the case when you guys get married because you know what I mean. You both are working. You both are busy, and that's an illusion that it's gonna be like that always. And that's what I tell people. You know, reality is totally different than that illusion of I'm gonna marry my boyfriend and he's gonna stay my boyfriend for the rest of our marriage. That's not the case. He's not
Exactly.
gonna be your boyfriend for the rest of your marriage. He's gonna be your husband, and that's different than a boyfriend.
It is, and that's when you really find out who you're married to, and the quality of the person. You find out a person's heart, their communication skills, how mature somebody is. It all comes out after, you're living in the home together, and you really find out, and you're like, oh my goodness,
Exactly.
who did I align myself with? But it is what it is, and that's when you really find out, did you really love the person, or did you love the gifts? Yeah.
Mm. Or
And
exactly again? Did you love that person that proposed to you and asked you to marry him, or or do you love the fact that you're gonna have this big wedding and that you were asked to be married, and you're gonna have this beautiful dress? Do you love that person or the idea of what a wedding is all about?
and that's the difference that a lot of people don't understand. And
Exactly.
I wanted to highlight this point right here. Some people are so lonely and desperate, and they're seeking for, the wedding, just to be asked and to get married. And they're thinking that the marriage is going to fill a void of the love that they don't have within themselves. They think that getting married
Exactly.
is going to fill up all their empty spaces, all their voids. And I had to learn that myself. You have to learn to fill up your own cup. You have to learn to be at peace and loving yourself and being your own friend. Nobody can give that to you but you.
Exactly. And another thing is, I'm self-sufficient, right? I like to do my things my way. My cup of coffee, I like it a certain way that I make it, right? It is nice when somebody caters to you once in a while, but the way that the independent person that I am, I don't know, but it makes me feel some type of way when I see that these women want to be catered to the whole time, that they want to be, it's kind of like they want to be in that fantasy world of being catered to once they are married. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. No, 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 no. It's beautiful that you have someone that can cater to you, but don't expect that all the time, because there's a lot more that comes with after the wedding party and after the wedding bliss. There's a lot that comes after that, and that's when life really begins.
Hmm. That's what
That
I'm
married life,
yeah.
you know.
And that's the biggest difference, Miss Nexie, is that a lot of people, they don't have those important conversations like cooking and like, are you a good cook? Can you cook? Who do you want to cook? How many times a day? A week are you going to cook? Like, well, are we going to meal prep? Are you going to eat out? Are you going to eat at your work? Are you going to eat at home? Like, it's so much things, like, how is the financial situation, and what is your credit? Do you have a good credit score? On going into very important things, because for those people who don't know, when you get married, you inherit another, your spouse's financial, whatever whenever they're not good at
Oh
something,
yeah.
you inherit
Hmm.
those things. Now it's not his poor credit or what he owes, now it's what we owe.
Exactly. And again, It's going back to the fundamental of you want a successful I mean, like I said, marriage is hard as it is, and we're not trying to discourage anyone. We're just trying to say it like it is, right? This is why we're touching this topic. It's hard because it's two people trying to, coexist in the same unit with two different brains, two different attitudes, two different everything, but they're trying to, live in peace in one place. That on itself is really hard. But what we're trying to say is you have to communicate before, because I've seen this happen a lot, Marlene. They have a girlfriend, right, that dresses really nice, and they admire the way she dresses all the time. She's always so fly, she's always so beautiful. She wears the best clothing, the best shoes, the best everything. They marry this person. Then they start complaining that she spends so much money getting all these things. So, and I've had a couple of, colleagues that I consider friends. When they come and complain about that, when I hear them sometimes say that, I turn around or I pull them aside and I say, "Hey, that's what you loved about her, or that's what you loved about him." Yeah, I'm like, so now because it's kind of your money too, now that you're seeing how much it costs to keep that going, now it bothers you. That's unfair. You should have told her that, or you should have talked to him. You should have told him that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
that's
and that's the
that's
thing.
the,
You have
that's the
to,
thing.
when you see someone that dresses a certain way, does certain things, that is not going to change because you marry them. It's
Hmm.
not. That's who they are. They're going to continue to be that way until you have a talk and say, "Look, let's set up some goals so that we can in so many years have a house, right? Own a house, or that we can take a certain trip somewhere. Let's try to minimize this so that we can have in 5 years this amount." But if you don't
Hmm.
have those talks and all you do is praise, that person is going to continue that way because they're trying to please you, because you're always so happy to see them with that certain dress or those certain shoes or that perfume that you love so much that now you know it costs $150 an ounce.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel that those are the things that sometimes, even if you love someone, because they haven't had those talks that are necessary before you say I do, the marriages don't last. And they're beautiful people that make beautiful couples together, but they haven't had the guts to have that talk.
Yeah, and the whole thing is that included in that too is they don't have like those important conversations, like especially those who are already, have children going into the marriage, like who is going to be disciplining, and that can be a major difficulty in people breaking up. Like, okay, who is going to be disciplining? Do you have a problem with me disciplining? And what will be the level of discipline? And who's going to do this and who will do that. That's grown, mature conversation about the reality about what will happen when situations come up. Wanted to welcome Realist and Cruising
Hmm.
is Fun. How are you guys doing? Welcome.
And again, there's before having them kiddos, right? You want to have that conversation. The thing my husband always knew, and he will say to people sometimes as a joke, right? To when we're in family reunions or whatever, he will say, "Oh yeah, if I ever touch any of her kids with a pow pow, I wouldn't
Hmm.
survive the night." And she will go, and when they come and get her, take her to jail, they will ask her, "Ma'am, did you really do that to him, unalived him?" She will probably say, "Yes, I did, Your Honor. He hit my baby."
Yep. You have to have
And the
those
thing is
things
that, but that
out
conversation,
there.
yes, that conversation was had. No, you don't hit my kids. You talk to them. Children don't need to be spanked. They don't need to be hit. They don't need to know that type of fear. They don't need to get used to that type of pain. So you talk to them, but you don't hit my children. And if you do, you're gonna be very sorry. So he knew from the very beginning with those very sweet words that I told him they couldn't touch my kiddos. And those
Yeah.
conversations, as uncomfortable as they are, they have to be had. And another thing is, be you, be yourself.
Oh, Miss Nixon, we have to stop on and pause
Don't
on that for a little
uh,
bit. You know,
remove
that
toes. Anybody
that's
move their toes?
I gotta move my toes out of the way because you didn't prepare me. You didn't prepare me. You didn't
Move
tell
your
me if I have
toes.
my boots on or anything.
You're not. You don't have your boots on,
I did not. I have my
honey.
open toe sandals. You know, I was not
You're in
ready.
Florida. You can't have them boots on.
Yeah, I got my toes out. Like you didn't prepare me and tell me move my toes out of the way. Be yourself. Uh, Listen, there's so much people out there that are in this dating world and they don't even know who they are, much less being themselves. First, you have to know who you are before you can be yourself. They don't even know who they
Exactly. And they put this persona, right, in the dating world. They are this particular person, but if you continue to be something that you're not, once you're married, the real you is going to come out. And that's what I always told my children too, my boys and my girls. I always told my son, be you. A person that likes you, that loves you, is going to accept who you are. If you don't like certain things, be honest when you start dating. I started saying this when they were in high school. My girls, the same thing. Be you. If there's certain things that you don't like, you say them. I don't like that. Oh, that's not my cup of tea. Or I'm not going to do that because that's not me. Be you. Because when somebody falls in love with the real you, those are the marriages that last a lifetime.
and and I
Did I?
think that that's the whole difference about all of it is a lot of people don't know how to process those things. And I think a lot of people are scared to reveal who they really are because they know if they reveal their true self and their flaws, that it's they need to do a lot of work on themselves. And I can say that from personal experience. And a lot of people will never let their guard down. They'll put this mask on for the relationship, like no, I've talked about it many times. You know how I feel about the fakeness. They have all of this fakeness, right? They have the fake hair, fake nails, fake
Mm-hmm.
lashes, the makeup, all of these things, and they've never let the person see how do you actually look under all of that. It's important to do that when you're dating somebody so
Yeah.
that it's not like this, like, oh my God, like that's what you look like. Do you actually like a person without the makeup and the hair and the nails? And the same thing, the guy, do you like him without being in a suit and fancy car and lots of money? Do you just like him for who he is, or do you only like what they represent?
Exactly. And I feel that, the more you that you are with someone, and I don't mean you have to be disrespectful, mean, rude. That's not what we're saying, right? What we're saying is, be as much as you can be with that person, because again, people, no matter how much we love them, once we start living together, there's certain things they do that we don't like. It's inevitable. It's gonna happen. There's certain things that they do that we're like, oh my God, why do you show your mouth open? Or why are you crunching those chips like that? It's driving me crazy. So, we're gonna get on each other's nerves. That's just a fact of life. We have to, because we live together the same way our siblings get on our nerves, right? Our parents sometimes, well, not me because I'm perfect, but some parents, they get on their kids' nerves. It's the same thing. You're getting married to someone that, didn't grow up with you, grew up with something else, and you're going to come in together. So you have to be as natural you as you can be, because eventually that person is going to come out in a year and two and five, whatever it is. But the more invested you are in a relationship, the more of you that is going to come out. So might as well be you all the way. They like you,
Hmm.
good, and if they don't like you, then good
I
too.
know. I'm an avid person in believing in dating from the beginning. Like some people will show up with their best. I think a first date is supposed to be like you should be like in your sweats, no makeup, no nothing. Like be your real self, so that the first person that they get introduced to is seeing how you actually look, how you talk, and sitting around just having a conversation, hanging out in the park. That's what some of my favorite dates is, not about the glitz and the glamour and what fancy restaurant did you go to, but having a conversation and see, is this a person that you can actually vibe with, or is it you just want a free meal? Because that's a whole nother conversation. There's a lot of people who are just there because they just want somebody to buy them dinner.
They want that free meal. Oh, Marlene, you're so bad. But actually, and that is true. Again, I'm a person that doesn't wear makeup. I really, I don't. I'm not someone that, was brought up that way. You know, nothing like that. So I'm always in my natural self, right? But the beautiful thing sometimes of that is that I remember when my husband and I will go out, and I will still, when I will get dolled up and everything, I will still take his breath away. He will always be like, wow, you look so beautiful. Wow. That admiration of, wow, like I know the real you, right? But look at this person that it's going out with me. So I'll be so proud holding my hand and everything when we will go out to eat or a party. But he knew the real me. That person
Yeah.
that will take his breath away, as he always says, was the person that, was going to go out to a party with him. But it was still me. And that's the beauty of being you, because you can be that every day and just be that somebody else when you go to a party.
And I think that that's the hardest thing, that a lot of people don't know how to be themselves because they're so used to always hiding who they are behind makeup or clothes or certain things, or they show up not really being who they really are. Like some people will represent themselves to be a certain way, and that's not even what they
Mm-hmm.
like, but they will tell them, oh yeah, I love this and I love going here and going there, because they know that
Yep.
that person likes those things.
E- 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 and that's the thing. There's a lot of people who do that, who switch every person that with every person that they date. So when they get married to someone, they don't even know, because they haven't worked on themselves. They don't even know who they are, what they like, what they don't like anymore.
Yeah, and I think that that's a big problem, is a lot of people don't know how to be like organically themselves, um and they don't know how to love themselves, and that's a really sad thing. And I know that that's the reason why many people will divorce, is because they go into this relationship with having all these false expectations, expecting all of these things from somebody that they're dating, and they have this long list. We've all seen them, us all over social media. They want this, they want that in a person, and when it comes to them, like, really, what do you bring to the table? What can you
Yeah,
do? What can you offer?
exactly. And that's the thing. They go into the marriages thinking that they're gonna continue to be be on the date stage of their relationship. That going forward is gonna always be like that, is when they were dating, and that is impossible. Nobody can resist that. Nobody can resist dating their entire life. You have to be you. You have to understand that it's not going to stay in that romantic stage, right? In the romance part of the relationship, because again, you're married. There's a lot of things that take precedence on what you're doing now. Those dates are going to have to be far and few in between, because now you got responsibilities bigger than
Mhm.
when you were dating. So I noticed that when they start seeing that, well, my wife doesn't fix herself like she used to before, and now with the kids, she doesn't even have time for me, I want a divorce. It's like, aren't they your kids too? Why don't you help her with a couple of hours so she can fix herself the way you wanted her to be, or the way you liked her? And a lot of people go with this false hope that they're gonna continue to be on that dating stage. That's not marriage. And if you're forced to live like that, to always continue with that, eventually that's gonna lead to divorce. You have to be with someone that gets you, someone that knows you, someone that knows that you're not the type of person that is gonna put on makeup every day so that this person can be happy. That you're a frugal person. You're not someone that is gonna go spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a pair of shoes or a purse, because you're not like that. So you have to be with someone that accepts the good and the bad in you, but that loves
Mhm.
you for both. The
Yeah.
wedding is beautiful. The idea of the marriage, the idea of the wedding, the dress, the this, the that, yeah, that's beautiful. But that is a mirage. That is only
Mhm.
that one night. And that was the biggest thing with me is, why am I gonna go pay thousands of dollars on a dress that I'm only gonna wear one night? Because if I'm
Mhm.
gonna pay 10,000, I'm gonna wear it to work. I'm gonna wear I'm
Yeah, that
gonna
thing
be
better be functional.
I'm gonna be delivering babies with it. I'm gonna go to my children's graduation with it. I'm gonna go to their weddings with it. I mean, I'm gonna wear that thing every day until I get my $10,000 worth of it, and that's going cheap. So, that didn't. It doesn't. It didn't. The math didn't math. Wasn't mathing when it came to that. When it comes to those things, and when it came to me getting something like that, I'm a frugal person, Marley. I'm very frugal. I'm not someone that is flashy or likes all this I'm not like that. I don't enjoy it. It's not something I was brought up with. So for me, is if the shoe fits, is it nice? Yeah, I'm buying that one. I like it. It's only 20. Who cares? It's good. It fits and I feel comfortable. Yeah, I like it. Let's take it. Oh, but there's this
Mhm.
other pair that it lights up. It does this. Is it gonna feel as comfortable as this one? Maybe, yeah. Okay, how much is it? Blah blah blah. Okay, only because it lights up. Yeah, that's okay. I get a flashlight and walk with it around my shoes. But I'm
Yeah.
only paying 20 or whatever to 200. So I'm like that, and the good thing is my husband is like that too. We're both frugal. My son and his wife, they're the same way. They think before they do certain things. They're very frugal. They're always looking for the best deals. I'm sure they have money that they could spend if they wanted to, but they're not there. They're not like that. And that's the thing. If you're gonna live with someone and the idea is for the rest of your life, because those are the words that you repeat, right? After that person, after whoever's, you know, doing the ceremony, you repeat those words. So if you're gonna do that, make sure that you are who you are and that he is who he is, so that those words can stick with your marriage. I mean, that's what I'm thinking, right? Who am I to say anything? But for me, it's something that a lot of people go into, you know, this into relationships, sometimes jumping from one to the next to the next to the next. And when the one that proposes to them, they are five different people coming into the sixth one, and they don't even know who they are. And that's why marriages sometimes are so chaotic, because maybe you're bringing, pains from the other relationships, and what you didn't like about that other person, maybe this one does it, and you get upset because it reminds you of blah blah blah. So work on yourself before the I do's. Work together on both of your, you know, before the I do's. That's the only thing that I can think that, will make a difference.
And it does. It makes a major difference when we are healed from our past, and it's not just the past romantic relationships, but also past traumas of your childhood. Um, because if you go into a relationship, a lot of people, you just don't understand. You don't even know you're doing it. Some people are marrying their dads, or they're marrying their mother. They're marrying what they were missing. So if you don't fix
Uh
that,
huh.
even if you marry somebody who is like a mother to you, or like a father, or like a brother or sister, or whatever it is that you were needing at the time, what happens once you fix that inside? You don't need that person anymore, because you were making a person feel a need that should have been inside of yourself already. You should have possessed that. And I say
Yep.
that all the time when I talk to other young ladies and gentlemen. Same thing. Make sure that you're in a space that you know yourself and love yourself. Don't A lot of people go into relationships expecting for them to give them the love that they need in their life. And then what happens when they're acting up or they leave you? Now, does that mean that you're not loved, or you don't possess love because a person left you? So
Mm-hmm.
many people define
And
themselves by their
ex-
romantic status.
exactly. Yeah. A lot of people are so into changing that status and having that on their social media. And it's like, no, all you gotta have on your status is happy. Other than that, it doesn't matter. You can be single and super happy. You can be divorced and extremely happy. You can be married and super happy too, or extremely happy, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's how you feel inside that should count, not what anybody else's or your social media says. You know what I mean? Like the status quote. And I told you I saw that quote, and I don't remember where I saw it. I've been breaking my head where it says, you know, that a lot of people want to find love to be happy, and that's not how it should be. You find love because you're already happy, not to be happy. And that's the difference, I think, of a lot of people, is that they're unhappy, they're lonely, they're needing this, and they're so, heartbroken that they feel that finding that person is going to make them happy. And it's
Mhm.
not. Until you love yourself fully and you are your own best friend, your own brother, your own sister, your own everything, until then, you're going to be able to find someone that is worthy of your love and that you're worthy of theirs.
Mhm. You were speaking right then, sister. Because
Brother, sister, cousin,
yeah, brother, sister, cousin, auntie, grandma, you were speaking,
cousin.
because a lot of times that we when you go through certain experiences from your childhood, and I know that it's very uncomfortable to talk about certain things, like it triggers us. You feel strange or weird, like who wants to peel back the levels of the layers of pain when certain situations happen to you? Nobody wants to talk about those things. But if you don't fix what happened to you, or if you don't fix, like, why did you allow certain things, you're going to keep yourself in this perpetual circle of pain.
Yep. and you're gonna pass it on to the next person. You're gonna bring your receipts with that person that maybe it's a good person, because you haven't worked on yourself and all of your pain and everything, you're gonna bring it up to that person. And again, it's something that a lot of us don't want to face. And I think that if it wasn't because we had, we worked on ourselves, we had our therapy, and we are in the place that we are today, I don't think we would have been able to see the mistakes that we made, right? We would not been able to accept them and say and own up to them and say, yes, I made those mistakes. I did do that. We have to be able to do that, because without owning up to our own, mistakes, or our own imperfections, without owning that we are not perfect and that we do make mistakes, without making that ownership and jumping into a relationship, without having that in place, the accountability, you're not going to be able to have a good relationship with anyone. And that's what I see a lot of people jump into before they work on themselves. And then children come, and then there are divorces, and then there's the children going from parent to parent.
Mm. And here's another big one is a lot of people think that if they're having problems in their marriage, let's have a child. Throwing a child into the mix is not going to work. Not going to fix something that's already broken. It's only going to make more
No,
issues.
exactly, exactly. It's gonna make it worse than already is. Adding another beautiful human. It's unfair for that beautiful human to be added into something that it's already, you know, imperfect, and it's already broken.
Yeah,
That is
you
kind
can.
of, those are the things that, unless, like you said, like we've been saying here, take a self check list, right? I don't like this. I like this. I have to work on this. No, I already worked on this. Unless you do self inventory of who you are as a person, you shouldn't even be considering getting together with anyone. Work on you first.
Yeah, and you're so right. That self checklist. A lot of people, I hear like people talk about relationships. Oh, my husband does this, or my wife does that, and they do this and they do this. But what do you do? We have to come at it in a grown and mature way. Yeah, that yes, they can be doing those things, but what about you? Be realistic, be honest with yourself. Have I been slacking? Am I doing what I should do? Am I treating them the way that I should? Am I communicating? There's two people to make a marriage work, and many people
Yeah,
don't know that and understand it. It takes two.
that was the biggest slap on my face, Marlene, that my therapist gave me when he said, "Yeah, but what did you do? You know,
Mm.
what was your role? What role did you play for this to happen in your marriage?" I was like, no, no, no.
I
See,
hate that question. It happened to me too.
I'm
I
the
hate that
I'm the voice of perfection. What are you talking about? Don't you see all of this? Come on.
question.
I was like, well, why me? I'm telling you, this is what he did. This is his thing. And then, he did it again. Yes, but why? What role did you play for things to get to this point?
Yeah.
And until I was ready to evaluate, take ownership of the mistakes I made in the marriage, and the reason why it had gone the way it did, I was too complicit. Maybe I wasn't really there. You know what I mean? Like, there were so many things that I had to own up to, and that I started seeing that, yes, he's right. I was only looking at it from a very upset, very mad point of view. I wasn't
Mhm.
owning up to, I pushed this person that way, my actions, my lack of action. Like you say, we have to have, what was it that you said the other day? An action reaction, something like that. An action takes a
There's
reaction,
a
or a
there's
reaction.
for every action there is a reaction.
There you go. Exactly. So I had to do that. I had to step back, let my anger go for a minute, and look deep inside of me. And I had to be honest with me, and yeah, once you do that, you understand that it's not just the other person's fault, because you may be busy on certain things here trying to handle all of that, and you forget that that person that you started with needs you as well. So yeah, those were the things that I was like, I don't think these words are coming out of my mouth right. I told you it was his fault. It's all him. Like, seriously, like, what am I missing? And he's like, that's exactly what I'm wondering right now. What is she missing? What isn't she getting?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I put my comment there, one-sided. The majority of us only want to see things through rose-colored glasses. Like we never make any mistakes. We never do anything wrong. Like how did okay, I'm just going to be honest. When you start off a relationship, don't, we always start off with our best. You start, you're going to the gym, you make sure you're looking good, you're looking sexy. Oh, look at my clothes. Hair is, I mean, flawless. Makeup done, or the guys clean shaving, looking good. They're going to the gym, they're lifting weights. Like when you first start off the relationship, but then as the relationship progresses, don't, on both sides, you get comfortable, and that's what it's supposed
Hmm.
to be in a relationship. You can't keep up the fakeness for too long. A lot of people they keep up the fakeness for
Exactly.
a long period of time, and then once they get married, mm, and I was like, okay, you can't be fake. You can't hide that you have no hair, or that you have dentures, certain things that you didn't even talk about when
Oh, you
you
let
were
that belly
dating.
pop, and you're like, whoa! I thought you had a six
Yeah, you had no idea that this person has a what is it, a beer belly, and you're like,
a beer
whoa.
belly, a pot belly, a pot belly.
Yeah, pop. Yeah, my mom would say, you didn't know that they were a pot belly pig, but then it comes out.
Exactly. But again, it's something that we have to be ourselves. That is the best medicine for a relationship to be long lasting. Be you. You cannot, like, how people say fake it till you make it.
Hmm.
That's a bad saying.
Very bad.
Because once you make it, you're still gonna have to be you. So,
No, and
you
then when if you're revealing that part of you and that's not you, you confuse the person, because you're like, but you showed up this way, and that's not who you are. It's just always the best thing to just show up as yourself.
exactly. And again, we're not knocking down marriage. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's nice to get married. It's nice to have your wedding and have your people there with you and everything. But it's, we what we're saying is make sure that you're doing it for the right reason. Make sure you're doing it with the right person.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, and that you're doing it for not that is, don't do it because it's gonna complete you. No, you have to be complete before you take that step.
Yeah. And Flirt just said something in the chat. He says, I've always said that to couple. It's important. It's important for you to
Mm-hmm.
be yourself, your organic, real self. Like, you know, I Okay, say for instance, you're a coffee person, Miss Nexie. I'm not. That would be like
Yes.
me showing up. Oh my God, I love coffee. Coffee is my favorite. And then, like, when you get married, like, how come I don't see you drink coffee? I was like, I don't like coffee. Like, what?
But you said you did.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like people will show up because they know that the person maybe they're dating likes certain things, and then they act like they're interested in, like, they show up like, oh, I love that movie, or I like this, or I love this sports, and they know that they don't. So it's just better for a relationship when you just know how to be honest with yourself and the person that you're seeing.
Exactly. And again, when you love someone, you're gonna love their imperfections and their perfections the same way. If you think that you can't, then you shouldn't be with that person. You know, I had a friend who detested the smell of smoke, of cigarettes. When people smoke, she'll be like, "Oh, I hate it." You know how when you work in a hospital, a lot of people that smoke go to the roof or the outside and they're smoking over
Right.
there, like in groups sometimes. And she will make this huge faces like, "Oh, I hate the smell of smoke. Oh, I can't stand it." My dad used to smoke and I used to hate that smell. And she's like, "My dad hasn't smoked in a long time, thank God, but I still don't like the smell." She's like, I can almost like imagine if they kiss me or whatever. So she meets this person that is a smoker, and
Mm,
he's smoking, and I'm at a party that we had a get together. We're celebrating one of um, a manager's from the hospital, one of their I think it was their anniversary or their birthday, I'm not sure, but it was a celebration we're doing in their house, and they invited us, and I went with my husband and she went with this man that she's dating, and he's smoking with somebody else in the corner, and I'm looking like, I thought she didn't like cigarettes. She didn't like the smell of cigarette or whatever. But I think that she liked the way this man was and everything, and she was going to, in her head, be able to tolerate that smell and the smoking because he had other qualities. I I just told her, make sure that that's exactly what you're doing, because if you don't like smoking, you have to remember, if you guys end up ever living together or marrying or whatever, he's not going to stop because of you. But he's going to be surprised if you don't like it and you tell him after you guys are together. That can kill anybody's love or anybody's, trusting you, because you lied to me. So I don't know how it ended, because I moved to, another hospital, whatever. But it was the fact that I see her there, like, smiling and everything. He's smoking. I'm like, wait, she said she hated smoke, the smell of it or whatever. Like, I don't get it. And this is the thing, you cannot do that. You cannot change for anybody else, because eventually the person that doesn't like the smell of cigarette smoke or whatever, it's gonna come out, and it's gonna come out with the vengeance. It's gonna come
mm-hmm.
out with a bang, because you're gonna be so
And
frustrated.
and also it's whatever. It's not just smoking, it's anything that you don't like. It's like people who say, oh, I don't like children, and then when a person gets married they think they're going to change them and say, oh, I want to have kids now. And they're like, I told you I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want kids. And it's like, well, but we're married now, so this is what I
Yep.
want. So it's one of those things, like, you have to go into a relationship accepting people for what they are. And if they show you that's like somebody who's not very stable in working, now you're going to
Mm-hmm.
expect them to be this high functioning person at work. No, it doesn't work that way. And this comment that Flurk said, if you're not authentic, you're just lying to yourself, and it just creates more problems down the road.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the thing. A lot of people do that. They date, they don't like the smell of alcohol or the smell of cigarettes, or they don't like the way this person shoots their food, or they don't like the way his mother is, or they don't like the way his sister, or they don't like the way her father is, whatever. But they don't say anything. They wait until they're married to start bringing all of this up. They're faking it until they get married, and that's the thing. That's not gonna work because that's my family, right? And I like to drink or I like to smoke. So now that you don't like it, what's gonna happen? What are we gonna do now? We already signed in the dotted line.
Exactly. And and now they, what gets on my nerves is that when people, they knew who the person was, they knew the qualities, they seen
Mm-hmm.
the red flags, and they chose to ignore it. Like, why are you complaining now after you get married? Now you expect this person to be this
And
mature person or reasonable person, and you knew they were unreasonable when you were with them from the beginning.
Marlene, or when they say, when some gentlemen they're telling their girlfriends or their significant others, whatever, that they don't believe in marriage. They don't want to get married. And the girls know this, that they don't want to, but eventually they get married, right? They make them marry them one way or another, whatever. And I've had, I had a friend who they were together for 10 years, just living together. They had they were the perfect couple, Marlene. The perfect couple. They were so in sync with each other. They were like amazing together. But she had been wanting to get married for the longest time, and he kept on telling her, I really don't want to get married. I like the way we are. I like it. We're in love. We have a wonderful relationship, and I don't believe in marriage. But I don't know what happened. The thing is that we got an invitation that they were getting married. And we were shocked. We were like, what? That is so weird. We got invited to the wedding. They had a beautiful wedding. A year later, they're filing for divorce. And they were fighting. They were arguing a lot. They were having a lot of problems. And the first thing he threw on her face is, I told you I didn't believe in marriage. And this is the reason why I told you I didn't want to get married. And I was like, oops. So that relationship, and she regretted it later. She was like, it was fine the way it was, but she wanted to be married. That was the illusion of of the wedding and the big wedding, because they did have a big wedding, but they were divorced a year later.
Yep.
You cannot make people do things that they don't want to. It's unfair.
Yeah.
And if that person doesn't want to, then you're better off leaving them. Find someone that
Yeah.
wants to do the same things you want to do.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that a lot of people have this illusion that once they get married, they're going to change. I've heard so many. It's not just women, but mainly you hear women say when they get married to me, I'll change them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make them love kids. I'm gonna make them love to do whatever.
Mm.
I'm gonna make them so responsible. They're gonna start, going to work, and I'm gonna make them responsible for money. I'm gonna teach them. I'm gonna be a good teacher. And
Yeah,
being
no.
a good example does not make a person a good candidate for marriage.
No, no, and that's the thing. If you're a responsible human and you marry someone that pays things at the last minute, that is always rushing because they got the last pair of socks clean and then they're gonna do laundry. If you're with someone like that and you're not like that, that thing is gonna get old right quick. Because you're a person, or you're a person that is
Very.
organized, right? that everything has its place, and a place is everything. If you're someone like that and you're with someone that leaves things around everywhere, there's a mess and you have to clean it up and you have to continuously telling this person, don't do that, I don't like it's not gonna work. That gets old. That gets old super fast, which is why it's
So
better for you to be yourself. Be your true self. If you're
and
someone
that,
that is messy, you tell the person you're with, I'm messy. Okay? And you look like you're somebody who likes to clean around. I'm not like
yeah, and that's gonna frustrate not only them but you too, because it's like that if that's who you are and you're not willing to make any changes to that, why make another person miserable? A lot of people are very selfish when it comes
exactly.
to relationships. Like I said earlier, they have this expectation that this person should be all of these things for me, but when it comes to me, oh, I can do whatever I want to. I can let myself go. I can gain weight. I can be lazy. I can do all whatever I want to do. But when it comes to them, they have to be this. They have to have this whole list going on. Like they have to be
Hmm.
perfect, but I can do whatever I want. And that's very toxic.
It is. It is. And you cannot have expectations on others that you don't have on yourself. That's what I tell people all the time. The same expectations you have for them to look this, to be that, that's the same you have to have for you. Because you cannot expect someone to do all of that and be all of that, and you're just going to continue to be yourself. That's unfair.
And I remember what my therapist used to say. She used to say this, and it used to, oh, next thing I'm telling you, it would piss me off. She would say, expect what you possess. I was like, what does that mean? I was like, that's stupid.
Yes.
I hated that so much, and I can't get it out of my head. And it's true. You can't expect things from others that you're not willing to be and to give.
Or that you don't possess. Exactly. You cannot, if you're not honest, you cannot expect honesty from anyone. If you're not loyal, you cannot expect that, or ask or expect loyalty from anyone. It goes both ways. You have to be very careful with this, and this is why sometimes it's important for people to before they walk down that aisle, that beautiful flowered aisle, that they take the time to work on them, to work on their person first, so that whatever comes after the I do's is something beautiful. Because it can be. Marriage can be beautiful, especially if you marry the right person in the right way.
Yeah, when you marry the right person the right way, and the whole thing is like my mom used to say that all the time, and they were married 52 years. And my mom said a good marriage is made up of two good forgivers. You have to be willing to
Yes.
forgive each other because, like, sometimes it's just like, oh, you get on my nerves, and then they'll be saying the same thing, oh, you get on my nerves, and it goes back and forth. But you're willing to do this thing called life together because you should be bringing out the best in the other person, or motivating each other to strive for being a better person.
Marlene, I'm laughing at something right now. When my husband used to, get in trouble, he will say, "Oh no, I'm gonna have to sleep in the doghouse tonight." So once we had children, and I think our daughter was probably like 3 or 4 years old, and I guess something happened, and he said, "Man, now I'm gonna have to sleep in the doghouse." So in the morning, our daughter gets up and she goes outside, and I'm like, "What is she doing?" And I'm like, "What are you doing, baby?" She's like, "I'm gonna go wake up daddy because he because he went to sleep with Coco last night in Coco's house." I said, "No, no, 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 no. Your daddy is over there in his bed." But in her mind, he really literally slept in the dog's bed.
Oh, she took
I
it
think the dog's
literally.
house, but she was so determined. Yeah, she was so determined to go wake up her dad in the dog's house.
Wow.
Yeah, she was like 3 years old. It was so funny. I was like, oh man, we gotta be careful around these kiddos.
Yeah, you have to be careful what you say around them. And, it's so important who you marry because if you have children with somebody and you already don't care for how they act, you're going to make a little mini version of them out there.
Marlene, that's wonderful that you said that. I've always said like I don't like profanity. I don't. And the wonderful thing is that the person I married is not like that. He doesn't like that, and he doesn't talk like that. He doesn't use profanity. Maybe when he hits a toe, right? He's like, oh, whatever. But or sometimes when we're making fun of something and a little word here and there, but it's not every other sentence that comes out of his mouth, and it's so that on itself, I think, is something that is important. They're little things, Marlene. Because profanity, you can say, well, if you don't like it, the first thing you can do is avoid it. So if it's someone, a friend, a coworker, you just move away. But when you're married to someone that is like that, with something that you don't like, you cannot move away. You're married to them. So, working on you is going to give you the ability to say, hey, look, I love you and everything, but you have to work on that because I really don't like it. It triggers me. Or it's so only getting the help that you need with therapy or whatever it is that you need before you're going to be able to have a healthy marriage.
Yeah. Yep.
I feel
I
that
do.
that's how it is.
Yep. That's how it is, you know.
Mm-hmm. That for me, I don't know. It's not something I enjoy. I just dislike it so very much. And it's something that I didn't even think about when I got married. But I think that I like this person because he didn't use those words. And
Yeah.
now when I started working on myself, I started understanding that, hey, you know what I mean? You have to work on yourself so that you can find someone that works with you.
Yeah, and that's the thing is about, learning to experience some personal growth, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in every relationship you start your relationship off one way and then you should be learning to grow together. Um, you know, and but it takes two people who are in a space of maturity and wanting to grow and wanting to learn and wanting to experience certain things together. So it's all of those
Exactly.
things, and
All of those
learn
things.
to not fall in love with just the wedding and not the marriage. So, great topic, great conversation, Miss Nexie. Any final words?
Thank you, Miss Marlene. No, just that. When you're gonna make a decision as big as marrying someone, make sure that that person is not a mirror image of you in a sense, right? But that is a lot like you. Someone that if you give um, criticism
Mm-hmm.
or feedback, it's going to be someone that is going to be receptive. Kind of like if that's who you are, then find someone that mirrors you in a way so that you can marry someone that you are going to make happy and it's going to make you happy in return. Marry with the idea of a long, beautiful future. Don't marry just because of the dress and the food and what everybody's going to say about this and the pictures. Marry the heart of that person,
Hmm.
not the wedding party or the wedding venue, or you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
marry for that, marry for someone that mirrors you and appreciates you and loves you, and you have the idea of a happily ever after, not just the best wedding ever.
Yes,
I think that's
exactly.
all I can say.
Great thoughts. And my final words is make sure you're marrying somebody that, that's a person who they really are, because a lot of times people fall in love with a figment of an imagination, this illusion, and they haven't really looked at the person. There's a lot of flaws in that person way before you get into marrying them. You see certain things, so don't think that those things are going to shift or change. So make sure it's a person that you can align with, and it's someone that you can see a future with, or a person you could see having children with and settling down and growing old together. That's how it's supposed to be. Thank you
Amen to
so
those
much,
words.
Miss Nexie. And thank you so much to everybody who came through today. Slice of Farming, Shay Love, Realist One, Flurg, um, Patty's Retirement, Miss Betty, all of you, and anybody who is watching in the background or in the replay. I really do appreciate all of you, loved ones. This is a very important conversation and topic, and I'm grateful to share this space with my wonderful co host, Miss Nexie.
A voice of perfection. What can I say? Thank you, Miss Marlene. And it's my pleasure to be invited to your platform so that we can discuss topics that sometimes are a little icky, that you don't
Hmm.
want to touch, but sometimes are necessary too. Because we have people around us that sometimes need to hear this.
Yes.
So thank you, Miss Marlene, for inviting me, and thank you everybody for coming over and enjoying with us the sip and chat, and for your comments, and for the support that you give to Marlene, wonderful, wonderful woman. And we'll see you next week with another sip and
Yeah.
chat.
See you all next week. Bye bye. Ta
Bye,
ta for
everybody.
now.
Ta
Bye
ta
bye.
for now. Bye.
Bye.